Hello, players of Warhammer. I wanted to make an opinion video, so this will be kind of long because I've never made one before. Start with Warhammer Fantasy. So it was probably maybe 2006 possibly that I went to Wales. So it would have been before this book was released. I'm sorry if the writing's backwards on this. Hopefully it'll straighten out once the video is made. So I went to Wales and I saw this game that they were playing. I've come to find out just very recently that's called WarHammer Fantasy because I watched a YouTuber, I believe Jordan Sorcery is the name. Sorry if I got it wrong, but he highly inspired me on the old stuff, talking about Warhammer Fantasy. So I was just really blown away by this game. I was playing World of Warcraft, I was playing Magic the Gathering, and I was really blown away by... No, I wasn't even playing Magic the Gathering yet. I had actually gone to Wales for the Doctor Who Museum, so I was probably actively collecting Doctor Who books and watching Doctor Who. And I was just blown away by this fantasy game, Warhammer Fantasy. So this is the 8th edition book I was just able to pick up, and I'm so happy because it is so fun to look through. And it's a really beat up old copy, but old literature is expensive, as I'm going to talk about later. Really have enjoyed looking through that. That book is amazing. The end times. So why Warhammer decided to do the end times and that whole particular area, I'm not sure. Maybe because they had grand visions of Age of Sigmar, and that's the way they could make it happen to switch the time that they would look at. Square bases. It does seem to me, I saw a video recently, I'm sorry, I don't know who it was, that they have made their square bases bigger and made trays that fit those bigger square bases, and that way the armies are less crowded into each other. Certainly they take up more space on the table if you do that, a little bit more, but they do seem to be much more natural than packed in like the old square bases. There was a point where I was going to buy a whole bunch of square bases because you can buy those. I think they're made by an aftermarket company, and put them on that, and I decided not to. I just decided they were too close. Oh, and also because of the rules for the particular base sizes, which I believe Games Workshop is going away from. So like we went to Wales and discovered fantasy because of the Doctor Who Museum, we currently want to go to the Games Workshop factory and visit that and see all the beautiful stuff that was painted. Old models and high prices. I say all for it because the people who have been collecting Warhammer since the beginning deserve the high prices for those models that they still have them. And certainly if they've been intricately painted, they're worth even more. So that's probably not a place I'm going to go. And I'll talk about here pretty quick as to why that is. But I believe that those high prices are well deserved for that old stuff if you hung on to it. Old literature. I picked up the 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy book. Old literature is very expensive, and that makes sense too, that if you hung on to that literature and you kept it in good shape, it should be worth a lot. There are certain things that when they've just gone out of general use, like right now it's 9th edition in 40K, because the 10th edition has just come in. That stuff is probably in its sweet spot where you can get it pretty cheap before it's old and the price goes up. I'm not sure if that holds for codices and battle tomes, but it may. But I also feel like the prices are too high because I feel like people are trying to get people to accidentally buy the 9th edition. And in the case of Age of Sigmar, the battle tomes, the battle tomes for 2nd edition and 3rd edition look very similar. There's just a little bit more red at the top of the book on the 3rd edition than there is on the 2nd edition. And fortunately, I accidentally ordered a 2nd edition, but the guy hadn't shipped it out yet, and he gave me my money back on it. Or otherwise, it was just slightly cheaper than the 3rd edition. I would have had to buy that too and pay all the money for the 2nd edition, it being pretty useless other than as a collector's item. So I'd like to pick it up later on, certainly when it's dirt cheap. And that may never happen, I don't know. As far as models, the only old models I actually have are a 2nd edition BioVor. I'm not sure if it's real because it's very, very small. So I wasn't expecting that, especially for the price most of them were selling for. Mine was really cheap too, and if it looks fishy, it probably is fishy, right? So mine might be fake. You can tell me, is the 2nd edition BioVor like 3/4 of an inch long? What would be 2 centimeters or whatever? You can tell me in the comments. I also picked up some, and I've made videos about this, 3rd edition palm trees. I love these, and I think there's still more available. It's nice to have some of that old terrain, and I'm going to use it for my Tyranid versus Space Marines battle, even though it doesn't look very alien. It just looks like palm trees, but I'm going to put them in there anyways, just for nostalgia. I have picked up some core books for Warhammer. So this one's from 2017. So I believe this would be 8th edition. And then these two I probably got from Indomitus, and a starter version are probably from 9th edition. These are from 2020, right in the midst of COVID. And then I just picked up this one recently. This is, I believe, from the Leviathan set, but I bought it separately because I didn't actually buy the Leviathan set. And I'll tell you why that is. This one's from 2023. Okay, Age of Sigmar. Oh, before I get into that, I should probably talk about why I didn't buy Leviathan. I bought the Ultimate Starter Box. I didn't buy any of the other starter boxes, which might be a consideration, buying the other starter boxes. Leviathan, since it had no terrain in it, I feel like it's too high priced, and I would have gladly bought the Leviathan half of it, but they want a ton of money for the Leviathan half of the box. In fact, I can't even really find anything that's not being bid on. So that's difficult. And I really want the Leviathan. I really want when I say the Leviathan, I mean the Tyranid half of the box. Hopefully you know what I mean. Finding that's been difficult. There's lots of people selling the Space Marine half for pretty cheap and everything. But as I'll express later, I guess I got ahead of myself because I was going to talk about Age of Sigmar before 40K. So I'll just hold off there and I'll talk about it more later on. Okay, Age of Sigmar. So I'm excited about Age of Sigmar. I was excited about that. At first, I was confused because I couldn't find what I saw in Wales. I couldn't find that anywhere. It was also exasperated by the fact that all the stores in my area only had 40K and never had any Age of Sigmar. So when I finally got to look at Age of Sigmar, I was really blown away by it. I love the dynamic poses. I like it actually better than Warhammer Fantasy now, I think. I collect the Stormcast Eternals and the Night Haunt. I bought the Soul Wars box and the 2 sets that are below that. And I also bought a paint set, I believe, for that. So those paint sets are great because you get enough paints to actually paint these guys all in one box, albeit it'll be few colors, which is actually not a bad idea anyways. I've gotten into the Lumineth, and I think it's called the Sylvaneth, is a group that I'm considering. So I like the order groups. I don't think it's councils of order or whatever. I like those. I also like it's not councils, I know that's a wrong word, of death. So I like the Night Haunt, and I also collect the Soul Blight vampires only. I don't really like the skeletons and the zombies very much. I don't see myself getting into those much, although I know that was part of the vampire army in Warhammer Fantasy. I'm trying to just build my army with vampires and stuff like that, and resurrected dragons and stuff, although I would probably never spend the money to buy models like that. I pretty much just have the lowest level models because I can't pay $100 for a model. WarCry. I have the original WarCry box. I was so glad I bought that. All the terrain, just a ton of terrain. Enough terrain for probably a full Age of Sigmar game, I'm thinking, along with what I've supplemented it with, the Mausoleum and the stuff that came with the WarCry set, Tomb of Blood, I think it's called, with the Soul Blight in it and the Stormcast Eternals. Just love those. And I love there wasn't very much, but I love the terrain that did come with it. For WarCry, I have the Iron Golem and the Untamed Beasts. So I want to kind of have the 8 points built into my terrain where I show the edge of the 8 points and the realm of death, and then I have the forces of order coming into those zones. So my plan is to have them fight their way through the 8 corners and then enter the realm of death. I haven't built the Untamed Beasts yet. Just built the Iron Golem, and there's videos on those. Okay, 40K. I was heavily inspired by Leviathan just recently. I hadn't done much with 40K. I was very confused about how to play WarCry bands in Age of Sigmar and Age of Sigmar bands in WarCry. I really wanted to fight Night Haunts in WarCry. Now that's possible. I couldn't figure it out from the books, so I watched a ton of videos, and I just did it wrong. I bought a whole bunch of books, and I didn't have what I needed to do that, so I sort of just concentrated on Magic the Gathering for a while and kind of let those sit aside. But once the Leviathan box came in 10th edition, I was excited again. And I know this is in the reverse order, but I've also gone to see the Pariah Nexus stuff from a year ago and been super, super inspired by that. I want to give a shout out to Onaho and McCorney, and I know there's others too that have done those. There's probably the original video somewhere, but I've never seen those, where it's all linked together, so I know the story in kind of pieces from those channels. I don't know if they're enhancing the videos or adding to the videos or what's going on with that. So you can inform me in the comments if you'd be so kind. So I have Space Marines and I have Necrons. And I want to thank Tabletop Minions. That's probably my favorite Warhammer channel. I want to thank him for inspiring me to collect Indomitus, although I thought there was that armor with the church with all the skulls. And if I get the man himself to watch this, if you could comment on where that terrain came from that was in your original Indomitus video, because I thought that came with it. So another reason I didn't play 40K is I didn't actually really have any terrain for it, so to speak. I got the Tyranids now from the Ultimate Starter Box, and I also picked up a Combat Patrol set of Adeptus Sororitas. I really, really like them. Nuns with Guns, Sisters of Battle, Penitent Engines, and all that stuff. I'm really inspired by the artwork and the story, so I'm going to definitely do that. Shout out to Christian, whatever. You are so smart. You taught me so much about Sororitas. Sorry, I don't know the whole name of your channel, but I'm sure if you just search Christian with a H behind the C, you would find it. I picked up the First Strike box, which I found out is rare and hard to get, so I'm glad to have that. That has Necrons and Space Marines, and it was kind of like Kill Team for me, but I guess I didn't buy the whole Kill Team box. So I was desperately looking, and I think I got some terrain with that box too, but I can't find the instructions for how to build it. Maybe all you have to do is cut it off the sprue and put it down. Maybe that's all you have to do, and that's why I couldn't. Or if nothing else, I'll figure it out how to put it together. So Kill Team, I tried to get the orange box now, so that's pretty hard. I didn't want orcs, but I really like the other band, Death Krieg or whatever they're called. I really like those. Those are great. I picked up the Pariah Nexus Kill Team box. So, and I also picked up literature from the orange box, but I think I might need the tokens from the orange box. I also picked up some extra literature. Excellent channel recommended that if you buy the Pariah Nexus. No, it was actually the guy on eBay that was selling Pariah Nexus. In his description, which a lot of people don't put any description in there, so I appreciate it if you do. He said, well, you need this and that, and whatever. I ordered this and that, so I have it. So I have the literature from the orange box so that I can play Pariah Nexus, and I'm wondering if I need tokens as well. So with my Space Marines, I've just painted them blue as shown in the video. I haven't put any stickers on them because I'm kind of unclear about what chapter I should go with. I just put the weapon on that looked the coolest to me so far. Probably a big, huge mistake. So I'll probably end up cutting their hands off and putting in magnets or something like that. I don't know. Maybe Ultramarines, maybe Salamanders, maybe Adeptus. Is it Astartes or Custodes or whatever? I like the good guys. I like the guys that are, not that the Emperor is a good guy, but I like the guys that are associated with the Emperor that are not traitors and are not chaos. So I'll probably go with something like that. I'm really impressed by the Salamander guy, Sakan, in the Pariah Nexus video. That's awesome. Necrons, I'm thinking about going, I said this in another video, kind of flesh-colored because it's creepy, and cockroach brown, because it makes people's skin crawl, right? That's Tyranids. I'm going to go with flesh color and cockroach brown. Necrons, I made a video how I'm going on that. So I'm going to go iridescent paint, as I am on the Space Marines and as I have been with some of my Age of Sigmar stuff. Pretty much, if it wears armor, it's going to have iridescent paint. I'm really liking that effect, and that's kind of my signature. Deptus Ceretus, probably go with black iridescent paint. I have this cheap black flash iridescent paint I'll probably go with. The thing is, too, when you paint over the iridescent paint with metallics, it looks really cool. It's a cool effect. So that's why I like that technique. And that's pretty much where I'm at. I got the Tyranid and Space Marines Codices. I have the cards for those two. I'm waiting for the Necron ones. So I'm excited to get those. And then Adeptus Ceretus may be quite a wait. So I may pick up old stuff for that. I'm not sure what to do. I'm not really much of an online person. I don't like accepting the cookies. I know that sounds crazy, but that's where I'm at. I kind of like physical books. I'm the guy who buys hardcover books, like when the books first come out, so that I can collect them. Oh, by the way, I read part of Soul Wars. So I have that book, but it's a paperback version. That's Age of Sigmar. So I really have 4 games. If you don't include First Strike, I have Age of Sigmar, WarCry, I have 40K, and I have Kill Team now. So I'm going to go after it. Of course, I'll first of all play WarCry and Kill Team, and then I will try to develop a list to build a couple armies so that I can have a friend take one army, or I can play them both myself, opposing armies. So I'll eventually play Age of Sigmar and 40K as well. So I think this is a hobby that I'm going to be into for a while. Probably won't be buying much more, just painting the stuff I have. I have 5 of those Amazon racks that are made out of clear epoxy. I have 5 of those racks full of paint, so I think I have enough paint. And then we're also making jewelry, as I showed in my thumbnail. So that's fun. So I'm also pouring epoxy into molds, and also using the four-year-old mold in the heat, those blue molds, with UV cured epoxy. I'm not sure if those molds are interchangeable for those 2 types of epoxy, so you can tell me in the comments. And I think that's pretty much it. That's a lot. If you're with me till the end, thank you very much. Appreciate you, Warhammer players. Take care. Bye.